I thought you were going to ask me a question.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
why are you doing this documentary?
Well, I was very interested in how other people viewed the Institute or archaeology in general. I know how I experience it in my daily life and how I have interacted with the people, the students, the professors, the faculty. And I was just wondered how other people experienced it, if it had as big an impact, if it had any impact on other people in the community.
Let's look it up. The scientific study of past human cultures by analyzing the material remains, sites, and artifacts that people left behind. I'd add a lot to that. It's like one of those very basic, very difficult questions. I'll revert to what my father calls archaeology. He says archaeology is the study of old dead things. In some ways that sums it up, but things that are prior to us, but things that still fascinate us, things that are inert in many ways, and we have to interpret, we have to, sort of revivify them. So that's, archaeology is the original, another thing I would say is that archaeology is the original interdisciplinary subject.
The connection to the past and the study of such in terms of just looking at the evidence and going through and figuring out what not only that means to you and current society, but what it meant to them and how different and similar we are in the same respects.
I think particularly in a contemporary world where national identity and national heritage have such high stakes for so many people, archaeology can really contribute in shedding light on some of those particular issues.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Brown is really a critical space for archaeology right now, because what's a bit different about archaeology here in the United States for the most part is that it's a dispersed discipline that finds archaeologists in history departments, classics departments, anthropology departments, art history departments. You find archaeologists in very kind of these disciplinary settings. And here we have an institute which is transdisciplinary, and while there are other institutions like that, of course, throughout the United States, here we have a critical mass and a major institution like Brown University, where interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary agendas and relationships are really, really possible in ways you wouldn't find in other places. My role, I am a research associate, so basically I am here working on my various projects which relate to issues of landscape in Greece and the Mediterranean, but also questions, basic questions about what it is to be human, how it is humans relate to things, and also what I see as big questions. Wow, something just thrown down out there. What I see as big questions facing the humanities and sciences, and I think questions that archaeology is particularly suited to address. Archaeology in general. God, that's a huge question. I love so much about archaeology in general. One of the things that I really love, and this is my thing, is archaeology's attention to the utterly mundane, the things that kind of really recede from our attention in the everyday. Basic stuff, so about how it is people relate to space. Hold on a second.
One thing in particular that I'm interested in, and why I think it is significant, is that some of the relationships that people have with materials, with landscape, with other people, are as relevant today as they were in the past, and kind of getting at how these interactions play out is significant for us now.
Okay.
My first class was the fall of my freshman year. I took the archaeology of Jerusalem, and I fell in love with it. It was a lot of fun. It was a great sort of history meets art history meets anthropology meets classics sort of feel, and I really enjoyed the way I got to use a sort of versatile array of tools to look at the past. Where is archaeology around right now? What role does it play inside the institute? What do the undergraduate concentrators and the graduate concentrators think? And externally, how is it viewed? What do other people think about archaeology? Is the institute even on the radar right now?
Archaeology is the study of things that are old.
Oh, different kinds. It's the story of the historical record, and it can be from pots or tablets from thousands of years ago, or fish remains that Indians left a few hundred years ago. But it seems to me that it's the study of physical records to get to a historical explanation of human behavior.
Don't they teach Sumerian or Sanskrit? They teach Sanskrit in Brown. I know that. I don't know of any expedition. When you said archaeology, I thought the word architecture came through my mind. I was like, I could speak on the topic of architecture, but I have absolutely no reference.
Think of archaeology, what comes to mind?
Dust and
Egypt,
excavation. Sorry.
Dig up
No
from the
longer
ground.
exist. No, I guess they still exist.
Artifacts, the study of artifacts.
History, a lot of history involved.
Yeah.
I think of digging up old relics, and I think of historical aspects, most likely in Egypt and in ancient Rome and Greece. I have not taken any classes at Brown, and I have not heard about the Institute.
Well, I'm still learning about archaeology, but from my impressions of why I think it's important, it seems to really bring together a lot of schools of thought, and it's a very tangible way to interact with history. And I think I graduated in 1994, and I was in modern culture and media, so I can't say that I knew that much about archaeology. Is that I'd like to think that now someone in modern culture and media would know more about archaeology, because I think we're doing things that now have much more relevance to departments outside of our own.
Sue Alcock. I'm director of the Joukowsky Institute for Archaeology in the Ancient World, professor of classics, and as of July 1st, 2007, also professor of anthropology. And I'm the Joukowsky Family Professor of Archaeology. Fieldwork projects. John Cherry and I are working in Armenia.
What I'm on the soundtrack is
The Voroton project in southern Armenia. The Voroton River is runs through the sort of the little tail end of Armenia, quite close to some militarized boundaries, I'm sorry to say. And we're doing regional work there, a combination of intensive and extensive surveying the river's watershed, some excavation. It's a very underexplored area, particularly in the periods we're primarily interested in, the first millennium BC AD. So we're doing a lot of radiocarbon work, very basic, in the trenches, trying to build up a sense of the archaeological record of that neck of the woods. Quite different from working in Greece, which is where I've worked before, where there's a deep history of archaeological research. So it's been an interesting shift. So that's one project. Martha Joukowsky has been working in Petra at the Great Temple, but she's kind of moving out of that into a publication mode. Professor Galor is working in Israel at Bologna Arsuf, a coastal site, multi-period, extremely interesting site. Professor Vinkus has been working at Tongobriga in Portugal, and that will be continuing for the next couple of years. What we have going on right now is a job search rather in Near Eastern archaeology, and the hope is that that person, whoever we hire for that, will have strong fieldwork interests or good fieldwork connections, and I think we'll be building on the number of fieldwork projects as we go. More locally, a project we have is the dig at the First Baptist Church of America just down the hill that originated as an undergraduate class taught through anthropology last year. This year we're going to teach it through the Institute, and that was a class of about 16 students who went down and did a variety of investigative approaches to the First Baptist Church, including some excavation, and basically they've just produced like a 300-page book about their short season at the First Baptist Church. And I think that's a very encouraging development. It gives people, Brown students, an actual opportunity to dig, to do research locally. You don't have to travel, you don't have to walk. It's a good experience that then people can turn around and take out into the field elsewhere if they want to.
I read something about a project that historical artifacts were being taken out of like a construction site or something like that, which sounded like a real neat project. And of course, to make it meaningful, you have to do it carefully. Draw a grid and figure out how big this house was or this camp was. And that would be deep. And can we date any of these objects? And no, it sounded like a neat thing. I've never been involved in anything like that myself, but I've read about it.
Well, I'll be doing one this summer with Stanford and the University of Michigan and Pompeii. But other than that, I've been on digs with Professor Vinkes primarily.
What was that like?
It was in Tonga Briga, Portugal, and it was an incredible experience.
What drew you to archaeology?
I was looking for a project or something to do over the summer, and I found an excavation in Turkey, and I needed to take a fieldwork class.
I've gone abroad for one summer. My summer of 2005, I did the Brown Summer in Rome program, which was amazing. I went with a group of 10 Brown students and one BU grad student. Very sort of diverse group of people. I was the only archaeology concentrator there, not to mention the only one who knew any Italian. Each kid sort of took something out of it according to their own interests, I thought. There was one classics kid, and he really got interested in all the inscriptions. And there were a couple of people who were there and who studied political science. And what they got out of it, I think, was sort of a general sense of what archaeology really means to the modern political mind. Whereas what I got was really a sense of why I'm actually doing archaeology. I mean, what is it that I love? It's the fact that culture isn't just about where we stand today, but where we started and what we come from.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with other departments, and that's one of the reasons why I came to Brown in the first place, was for an interdisciplinary approach. Because more now than ever, there really are bridges being built and traversed between archaeology and other departments.
In the time we've been working at the Institute, what are some of the changes that you've already seen take place?
Well, I think under Sue's directorship that it's been very important to bring people together and create a sense of community. Since we had a colloquium where people from different universities all came to Brown, and as far as I know, that was the first time that was happening. I definitely, we just had a meeting for future concentrators, and people were all sitting in the common room filling out forms, sitting on the floor, and it was really a sense of everyone getting along, being collaborative, and there were more than before, and the people are coming to events more than before. People seem very aware of what's going on at the Institute, very curious about what we're going to do next, and that's true both at the university, and we get more emails than ever before about people saying, yeah, I've heard of your institute, what can I be involved, and so that's exciting to see, and hopefully that will continue the trend.
In terms of just the bonds that you form with your fellow trenchmates even, and that's graduate students, undergrads, all kinds of diversity and differing opinions and everything. And it was a really great opportunity to be working on such a, I feel, an important study.
I just really enjoyed fieldwork and learning about what professional archaeologists do outside of a university setting.
and all these myths and legends and the amazing masterwork pieces that are there. You can really feel the history when you're there, and I think it was one of the best experiences of my life.
I have yet to meet anyone who can name any topic, question, discipline, issue that somehow can't be connected to archaeology. So it's broad spectrum in its approaches, it's broad spectrum in its questions, it's broad spectrum in its interpretations. And I think that's why I enjoy it, which I know is another question. What do I love about archaeology? It's you meet some very interesting people. You can talk to just about anyone. You immediately make friends because people are curious about archaeology, and that's something that I'm curious about. Why do people immediately flash on archaeology? Why is it something that they're very attracted to? Even when they don't, half the time they're talking dinosaurs, they're actually talking paleontology, but they fundamentally have this something about archaeology, and I guess it's discovery, the chance that there's always something interesting out there that you can find that will make you rethink your life. And that's, I think, the fundamental kick of archaeology.